Welcome back to another episode of Running with James. I am your host for the day, with my other hosts for the day, Lawrence.
No, I didn't say that you would be the host. I said
No.
you're going to interview me. Don't say I'll be your host for the day because that insinuates you're in charge. That's not what I'm saying.
That's what I heard, right?
No.
Yeah, he didn't say
Those
you.
words
mean-
never even came
And
in.
you were going to be the co-host.
Yeah.
I did not use either one of those words. I didn't say
know.
any one of those phrasings.
I'd like to check the receipts.
Yeah.
Well, I guess we weren't recording, so.
Technically, I already was,
Ooh.
but they won't
Good.
know
We'll
that.
play it back then. It'll be good.
All right. Well, so fine. We are your co-hosts
Yes.
sitting in the hot seat today. Rocky, G, and me, Lauren. Lauren.
Everyone messes up my nicknames
I'm sorry.
every single time.
I'm not calling you
What
the
do you mean
other
your
one. Pop
nicknames?
Rocks.
Yeah, it's Rock Dog.
No.
One day we'll nail this in the butt. But
Yeah, I'm not done with this. I'm literally every single day I live my life looking in the mirror. It's like, roof,
Yeah.
roof. Who
I
let
mean,
the dogs
dude,
out?
sometimes I think it's important to, like, have goals in life and then try to, like, make those goals happen. But then some things just aren't realistic.
some things you gotta
Oh,
let
it's not
go.
attainable.
You
There's
gotta
some
set
things you gotta
smart
let
goals,
go.
bro. And I'm gonna be honest with you. I don't think it's I don't think that's attainable. It's not realistic, and I don't know what kind of timetable you have. But I mean, the only thing you got going on is the S, the smart, right? Because it's not measurable. Well, I guess it is measurable, but it's just not very tall.
Dang.
Aww.
Gosh, dog, how we got to see the most disrespected people
That's what
in
happens
America.
when we're in the power seats.
Mm-hmm.
We get disrespect. Disrespect.
Nah, nothing
Rocky,
changes.
how are you doing today?
I'm doing great. I'm battling life lately.
Oh no.
I don't want to talk about my issues. I can talk about it off the podcast because it's a little, no one wants to know all that.
Maybe they do. I think that's the big, beautiful thing about this podcast is we bear ourselves. We're very transparent here, and we tell people who we are.
We are sometimes too transparent here.
I don't want to be this transparent.
Okay. That's
Okay.
great. Okay.
Okay.
I mean, I can.
Are you
but
feeling okay?
We can cut it if anything.
Yeah, we could cut it.
We could always
You
cut
could
it.
say it, and then we stop talking about it and act like we cut it, and people are like, I think that's what they call a tease.
A hook.
And you're like, for all the Patreons, you can go here to listen to it.
So what is Rocky's problem? What's
Yeah.
Rocky's beef?
There's no beef. The beef with aging with Mr. Time.
With aging, you just turned 30.
Exactly, and I'm already feeling it.
Oh my
Oh.
gosh.
I'm dead serious. So I'm gonna tell you guys, we're gonna cut this.
I'm sorry I had to deal with that, Rocky, but
Yeah. Well, thankfully, I just have the dog with. Well, the Annihilator. She makes everything better.
Yeah, that's good.
I mean, she's literally pooping on herself. So you're like, I'm not doing that.
Yeah, she needs to get her life together.
That's one of the joys of parenting a baby.
And here's the thing: you go through when you're a baby, you kind of get out of it, and then as you get really old, you go back to it. So it's just like this
Yeah.
nice.
So she'll be changing your diapers. So
Yeah.
You know what's
turnabout's
crazy?
fair play.
I was actually talking about it yesterday. Everyone in my family is like so surprised how much she loves you. I'm like, why? Why is that
Loves
so
you?
Loves you?
You know,
Oh,
James.
James.
Oh, me?
Yeah.
Why?
I don't know. I don't know why they're so surprised about it. Like you're
I don't-
I'm supposed to be loved or something.
I mean, I think a lot of people, not all people, a good 62%
That's a very specific number.
of the people like me. This is- I mean, it's just
I think
weird.
my
It's just
sister's
weird
just
people who don't have
jealous.
any taste that don't like being around me.
Yeah, I think my sister's jealous because the baby likes you.
Yeah.
Apparently a little bit more. She don't cry with you, really.
Well, it's like half and half.
Well, it was half an hour for a little bit. Then now it's more like 70, 30.
Yeah, it's getting better. Yeah, she stares at me though.
She does stare
I
at
think
you.
it just
I've
has
seen
to
it.
do with put it in that time. You just got to put that time in, right? Don't give up, right?
Don't give up.
You know, you don't
really-
take no for an answer. Leah didn't like me at first either, but I won her over. Right?
Yeah,
So
I guess you are
I know
right.
kids like me. I mean, I have.
As long as you're not coaching them.
No, even the kids I coach, the kids like me. Like kids like me. Kids have always liked me. I've always been good with kids, especially babies. As I've gotten older, I just don't have not the patience, but the energy to be putting up with these bad kids, right? So if it's a good kid, it's a cute kid, especially if it's a cute kid, and I can see a kindred spirit, we can be friends. I feel bad because there's like some kids that I'm related to, and they're like siblings, and I like one more than I like the other. Like I really like this one, I like hanging out with them, playing with them. The other one I can't stand half the time, but he really likes me, and he wants to be my buddy. And the other one don't want to have anything to do with me, so I don't even know what to do.
We have a couple kids in our kids class that are super, super cute, and they can walk all over me. They can
I'm
do
pretty
something.
sure all kids walk all over you. Because you let them. You don't know what to do. You don't. I
I
understand.
kind of panic.
Yeah, you do.
It's like being charged by a bunch of little Oompa Loompas.
Wow.
So they are. They're tiny.
They are tiny.
So
And they do burst out in song at times.
it does
Song and
happen.
dance. Mm-hmm. Oftentimes they do.
Well, Rocky, I hope you feel better. I hope you come to terms with your aging.
Yeah. Hope you get that dribbling under control. If not, they do have undergarments for such things.
Depends.
Yep.
I just gotta train myself to wait a little bit longer.
Yeah.
That's it.
That's it.
Just wait it out.
James, how you doing?
I'm fine. I'm
You-
tired.
You seem tired today.
Do I?
A little bit. You're just seem like a little more like you need a nap.
Yeah, I thought you were gonna be more up and up. There's no kid. You had no kids today.
It's been a rough couple days because
Transparency.
No, we're good. Let's keep going.
Okay.
Let's go.
Okay.
Dang it.
What?
It's okay.
So, y'all are killing me, man. I'm trying to like go forward, move forward.
We don't have to talk about it.
I'm not like upset or nothing. I'm just tired. That's all. I had to change my schedule up a little bit this week.
I'm really sorry.
I wasn't
Rory.
prepared for it, and it made me push some things way up and some things way back. So I've been like, so today was supposed to be a good day. I was relaxed, chilling the cut. I was gonna be able to like sleep in, but I didn't get to do that. But it's okay.
I feel really bad. I owe you big time for yesterday.
It's not the end of the world. So it's okay. It's okay. It's okay.
Okay.
It's not the end of the world. It's okay. I'm just saying. You asked me why I'm tired, right? And then I'm a little aggravated I didn't get my workout finished. Like it was the first workout of the thing.
The new training block.
Yeah, and I was kind of testing it out too to see if like it was realistic or if I might have like, you know, bit off more than I could chew. Because I mean, I was working on it for a little while, but I only got like half of it done. So I feel like I have unfinished business, but I'm not going to finish it today. So I have to wait till next week. So
I was gonna offer I could finish it with you because I didn't get it today either. But
no, there's no way. So
It'll-
I'd have to do it after class.
It's gonna be
So that's
so-
like 8 o'clock,
you
7,
wouldn't talk about
7.
being beaten up.
And I got to
after.
be up like at 4 o'clock in the morning tomorrow. So yeah, I'm going home.
Dang.
So
Yeah, I do too. Actually.
Both of y'all?
Yeah.
yeah,
I'm
I got
pa-
clients in the morning.
Yep.
So
I got to teach at Row House.
When do you go into World Championships?
a couple weeks.
3
May
weeks.
23rd.
Can't even be having moods like this. Can't even having days like this close.
Well, better get him out of the way now and kind of like and get done. Get back to
yeah,
it.
take your L's now so you get your dubs overseas.
There it is.
You got to represent United States.
I actually was feeling pretty good today. Though. I'm not gonna lie. Like I've been feeling really kind of worn down the last few, like probably the last week or so, and I was not feeling it on Monday. And I was like, dude, this is not how you start a new training block. You're supposed to be feeling recovered, and I was not feeling recovered. When we started the workout today, I was feeling good. Like I was like, okay, let's go, son. So I was moving. So the only reason I stopped was because that tour or whatever I had to do. So, I mean, even though I was by myself, I was doing pretty good. I was crushing it. So, but who knows? The second half may have changed that a little bit because it's basically like a double up type thing. So,
Well, so since we're talking about, this was going to be the last big training block going into, and this will segue into the topic for today. Since you had the last big training block, and it's kind of like I don't know if it's like how important like this training block is specifically as far as like gaining strength and everything before championships. But just what you talked about, feeling a little tired. We've been going. It's all
Right.
kind of starting to add up. Once championships is over, you, as far as I know, really have nothing on your calendar until like August.
yeah, that sounds right.
That sounds about right.
I think so. Yeah.
A habanero. That's gonna be like the next thing.
Habanero.
So, so giving yourself a time to really let your body relax, rest, still training, so you're still gaining fitness, maintaining fitness, whatever, mentally staying focused.
Yep.
We had to change up the episode a little bit today because we had some scheduling
You don't have to tell people
things.
that.
They don't know. They
You
don't know we
even-
changed
you
it
just
up.
say all you got to say is this is the episode today.
Okay, I'm sorry. I was being
We didn't tell
transparent.
anybody anything.
I was just being transparent.
No, I'm just saying. No, you don't tell anybody that.
Okay, we'll cut that.
Then it makes it sound like we don't know what we're doing,
Okay.
even though we don't. But we don't want them to know that.
Okay, I was trying to follow along with the transparency, but okay.
No.
Don't
No.
be transparent, Lauren.
We're talking about we're talking about personal life.
Yeah.
This is podcast life.
Okay,
We have
don't-
to seem like we got it together on the stage.
Okay. Okay.
In real life, we
we'll
can be
cut-
all-
Smile away,
so we'll
smile
cut
away.
that.
Yeah.
So staying mentally focused and everything. So I put my feelers out to a group, a select group of people who I know
Ooh,
listen.
A select group of people.
Well, I mostly people whose phone numbers I had.
Okay.
It was a group text, and I was
How
like,
many
who's-
men were in that group?
Honestly, I didn't. None.
How many?
None. I'm sorry.
No, I knew that's what it was.
I'm
but
sorry. It wasn't anything personal. One, because I didn't know. I don't have the numbers.
It's a private ladies
I should have
chat.
put Tommy in the group. Why?
It's a private lady chat.
It was ladies, and I wasn't thinking. I just immediately was thinking of like
No.
5 ladies.
Women-
So I'm
women
sorry,
supporting women.
gentlemen.
I'm all about it.
I'm working on.
Strong women.
I'm working on a certain thread that I'm going to put out to a specific survey group. Anyway, I put out my feelers, people, and I said we want to hear from our listeners, people we know listen. What are some things that you've been wondering, concerns you have, topics that you discuss maybe amongst yourselves, things that we could help tackle, or maybe James could bring his knowledge to the table that Rocky and I could bring to the table. And I had a couple people come through and give me some really good ideas, but I thought since you're about to go to High Rocks, Danny gave us a good one. So shout out to Miss Danny. And hers was, I'm gonna go ahead and just read it out loud. I've heard so many people talking about this during CKC runs and especially right after the Chevron Marathon. What should you do after the race you've been training for is over? You don't have your coach giving you more miles anymore. A lot of people have said, I don't know what I'm doing. I'm just making it up as I go. So how many miles is the right amount, especially if you want to progress for the next season? So
Good question.
yeah, how do you keep, again, maintain the fitness, the mental focus, and then progress? Maybe you don't know what you're doing in the next season, but you want to just know you're getting better.
So in your experience, what do most people do? Like, what
They-
have you done?
Get lazy. Turn up. Goal,
Turn up.
Goal was accomplished.
Yep. Tacos.
Tacos all
Yes.
every day,
Yep.
all day,
I'll
every
run
day.
next week, and then the next week becomes 2 years later.
Lindor's chocolates.
Yeah.
Gummy bears.
Don't hate on the gummy bears.
Twizzlers.
Yep.
Don't hate on the Twizzlers.
Yep.
I know that after championship weekend, I'm very, very stoked about having a little bit of a break where I know I don't have anything coming up immediately.
I mean, do you really not have anything coming up?
Not as of right now, no.
Because, I
which is
mean,
shocking.
didn't you just do a DECA last week?
Let's not talk about that.
Oh, you did another event.
Yeah.
Shh, shh.
Yep, she did.
But that was
Didn't we
a
just have an episode.
that was a
about
fail.
not doing
We
too
did.
much?
And the
That
last
was
words
such
out
a
of her mouth
fail.
was, I don't think I'm overdoing it.
yeah.
And then 3 days later, DECA.
DECA.
I can't,
And I'm gonna-
not sure, but I think she did a DECA and a DECA mile.
No, I just did the DECA mile.
Oh, you just did that.
I just did the DECA mile because I ran with you Saturday morning
Oh, and then
and I showed up to
that
track.
was on Sunday. Then she showed up to the track workout.
But I left like 30. I left later, but I ended only
She did the first
30 minutes maybe.
part of it, and
Oh,
then
I
was
drove
like,
by. I honked my horn.
Did you?
and like,
Yeah.
No, I'm sorry.
and I'm like, this chick, this freaking chick.
I felt okay. So we don't need to get into that necessarily right now because I don't want to get too far off topic.
No, we don't. Want to get off topic? That's what I'm saying.
Okay. I was gonna say.
I was just making an observation.
Yes.
She didn't ask me about it. She didn't even tell me about it. She was trying to be sneaky about it.
I felt really bad, and I was. And
I just thought you went and filmed until somebody mentioned it, and I was like, no way.
yeah,
I was like, is that why she
it
was
was
so
not a
tired
good
on
idea.
Sunday?
It was not a good idea. It was not. I shouldn't have done
This
it.
chick.
I should not have
This
done
chick.
it. I regret it. I regretted it immediately. I started as soon as I started it. So anyway, I'm excited that once championships is over, of having. As of right now, nothing is on my calendar. So I'm like, I'm gonna take like at least a week to really just do
That's
easy
a
miles.
long time. Woo, a whole week?
Maybe 2.
Oh, we
going.
got events coming up. July. I just got the email about it.
What? What's in July?
Kids camp.
Okay, yeah, but I'm not racing anybody.
He's shooting me racing children
I
Yeah.
might be.
all July, just chasing them around.
I'm just gonna like be slamming them into the ground.
Yeah, please don't do that. I'm trying to get kids to come.
But I'm looking forward to a little bit of a break where
A week-long break, huh? That's how you're going to do it?
like easy miles,
Easy miles for a whole week,
maybe 2 weeks.
maybe 2.
I'll see what my coach says.
Okay.
What? Do you still coach people out there at the events? Can they
I
still-
do. Yeah.
If they
There's
come
some
to him.
people I coach year round. Like we don't stop coaching, like nonstop. Like we just coach all the time. So what I find is, number one, what a lot of people, like you guys said, a lot of people, like when the big event happens, they kind of like take a break, right? And the break means like they just stop running.
From
Like,
January to
completely-
July.
Yeah.
Cold turkey
They just
stop.
stop running until the season starts again. Now the cool thing is if you're part of like a run group or something, you know, a lot of them will still kind of
Meet up.
meet up and run, and then you know the season starts and they'll get like some structure again, right? Because they have some guidance from a coach or from coaches or something like that, right? Or a group. But a lot of people do. They like go like super chill, right? So one of the things I usually encourage people to do is depending on the distance and the intensity of the event. So like say for a marathon, your body needs a good, I think we talked a little bit this last week, right? But your body needs a good 4 to 6 weeks to recover, fully recover from that, to get back to baseline,
Yeah.
right? So usually what I tell people to do is the week after, like a marathon or even a half marathon, take the week off, right? If you want to run, run. If you don't want to run, don't run, right? Just no structure, just super loosey-goosey. If you feel like it, do it. If you don't. And what I find it does, it helps you have like a hard mental reset, and you start to kind of miss the training, you miss the running, but then you also give your body enough time to recuperate, right? Then you start with a reverse taper, right? So when we usually taper for a marathon, it's a 3-week taper. So usually how I program a training block is whatever peak week is, so whatever the biggest workouts mileage was, then from that week, we start doing like 80%, 60%, 30%. So we do 80% of peak week on the first week of recovery or taper. The second week we do like 60%, and then the week of the race we do 30%. So we reverse that, right? So the week you're, right after the race, you run if you want to, don't run, whatever. And the next week we go 60%. Then the next week we do 80%. And then after that we figure out, okay, what do we want to do? What does our baseline want to look like? Do I have another event coming up? If I do, how far away is it? So when do I really need to start ramping up? And if I don't have anything for 6 months or a year, well then, all right, then basically what I'm doing now is I've climbed this peak, right, for the pyramid, and now I'm at the top of the pyramid. Well, that pyramid now is my new baseline. And so to maintain that fitness and I basically just start building a whole new pyramid, right? So I start working up to a new peak, a new place or goal that I want to get to. So that's a good time to reassess, kind of figure out, okay, where do I want to go? What do I want to do? And then you create a new training block, right? And structure, I think, for running or fitness is really important, because structure gives you the opportunity to move forward. It gives you the opportunity to kind of measure if you're gaining or losing ground. But then also it helps keep you like moving, right? So I was talking to somebody the other day, and they were talking about their running. Like, yeah, I run like 15 miles or so a week. And I was like, do you use Garmin? They're like, yeah. I was like, well, let's pull up your Garmin data, right? So they pulled up their Garmin data, and I think the average for their 4 weeks was like 12 miles, right? Well, that's 3 miles less than what they said they just ran, okay? Then I was like, well, let's go through it. So like, okay. So like last week they ran like 20 miles, right? And the week before that they ran 10. And then they ran like 5 the week before that. And then they were on 20 before that, right? So they're kind of like all over the place, right? There's not a lot of consistency. So they'll have a really big week, and then a really low week, and then a medium week. So it may average out to close to what they were thinking, but it's not actually that kind of mileage, right? So usually it's less than what they thought it was, but they're always going back to that biggest week, and they're like, oh, well, I ran 20 miles that one week, right? So, and usually they also are running like more than half of the mileage on one run, on the long run, right? They meet up with a bunch of people and they go run a 15-mile run, and they do end up doing 20 miles for the week, right? So, so it gives you, I think, a good opportunity to start implementing new mileage, getting you a new baseline, figuring out how your schedule is going to look. You're already in the habit of running.
Yeah.
You're already in the habit of training, right? So why would you want to lose that, right, to go forward for the next? Now, you can obviously back it up so that your body can recuperate and you can recover, but I definitely think it's a good idea to create a training block and keep a plan of some sort going. Crickets.
Yeah.
Really? Really? Well,
What I was
Rocky.
thinking, was like, man, that person's gonna get hurt running like that.
What do you mean?
5, 10s to the 20s.
and they usually do, yeah.
big jumps, and then-
So that tends to happen because they don't follow the golden rules, right? So
Yeah.
you always fall back on the rules, right? 80-20, 10%, 20-30 drills and cross training, right? So let's say you just finished your training, you did your race, right? Now you know what it is you want to accomplish next time you do your race, or what you want to build on, right? I want to get faster, or I struggled on my nutrition or during the race, right? Or I struggled, my hamstrings cramped up on me at the end, right? Or something like that, right? So then now that you've finished this big event and you finished this epic moment, well, now you go back to the drawing board, and now you can start working on your weaknesses, right? So my very first marathon I ran, I trained, I think I averaged like maybe 40, 45 miles a week or something. I got up to a 26.2 mile long run. So I did a marathon like 3 or 4 weeks before, just because I was so close to it. Because I think I got up to 24 miles or something. So I was like, I might as well just do it. That was a mistake. I shouldn't have done that. But either way, I think I got up to like 60 miles peak week, and I ended up running 26 miles, right? Then like I ran the race, and when I ran the race, I felt so good in the beginning. I felt great, but I went out too fast, right? And I think around mile 21 or 22, I hit the wall. And around mile 24, my hamstrings started cramping up something gnarly, right? But I mean, I fought through, made it through. You know, it was my first one, so I obviously PR'd, right? So I did really well because I finished it.
Congratulations.
Thank you. But I realized at the end of the race, I was like, okay, I went out too hot, so I got to work on my pacing.
Yeah.
I didn't feel like I had enough calories. I took nutrition, but I didn't feel like I felt like I'd maybe gotten a little dehydrated. I also felt like I didn't have enough energy at the end. And then obviously my hamstrings cramped up, right? So that means I needed to strengthen. I knew my hamstrings were a weakness and something I needed to strengthen anyway. So when I got out of that, right, I found a few smaller races to kind of sprinkle in throughout the year. And I went back to the drawing board and I started working on some of those deficiencies. I started doing more drills.
Squats.
Like I picked one particular day where I just did a bunch of drills, like just for like almost 30 minutes. It was just a drill session. And I would just do drills. I'd do some strides. I'd do drills, do some strides, do some drills. And I was just really trying to work on my efficiency and my form. And then like I started doing more like hamstring work, deadlifts, curls, leg curls, stuff like that, lunges, more run specific movements in my training to help strengthen some of my weaknesses. And then I started really small because I wanted to, so I figured, okay, I had a ton of time until my next marathon that I was going to run. It was like a year or so. So I was like, all right, this is one of the workouts I want to try to do. And it was I think, I wanted to get up to 2,000 meter repeats, but I wanted to be able to do that like 10 times.
Okay.
Right. So that's basically
Dang, that's so
20,000
yeah.
meters. Right. And that 10,000 meters or that 2,000 meter pace I wanted to run was, faster than, I had ever ran a 1,000-meter run. Right. So, but I had more than enough time. So I started really small. So I did 800-meter repeats at the pace I wanted to run. It was like 6:45 or something. Right. So I wanted to basically, it's like more of a kind of an interval tempo effort. It's right on the edge. And so a tempo run is a pace that's somewhere between your 10K and your half marathon pace. Well, I knew what my goal was for my marathon. So I was working on my half marathon pace, and I wanted to make sure that I hit that half marathon time before I ran another marathon. Does that make
Okay.
sense?
Yeah.
So I started training to run a fast half marathon. And so that was one of the workouts I was doing. So I was trying to run like a 6:45 pace. So I did I started with 1,000-meter repeats, right? And I did like 7 or 8. And I'd give myself 3-minute break or whatever. And then, so my first training block, I think I only did like 4 or 5 of them. But then each week I would build up. And then when I got to like 10 or 12, well, then I changed it from 1,000-meter repeats to 1,200-meter repeats. But then I just started at like 8. And then I built up. And then when I got to like 15 or something, then I switched it to, I think I added 400 meters. I did 1,600-meter repeats. So basically mile repeats, right? And I started with 8, right? So I'm still doing more mileage, but only by a little bit, right? And then, so basically what I was doing is I took one workout and I built on it over the period of like 6 or 7 months. And I basically just did the math to when I wanted to do it by. And by the time I got to, I guess, 3 or 4 weeks from the half marathon I was going to run, I was at the goal. I was able to do the 2,000-meter repeats like 20 times at that pace, right? And I felt the same way that time as I did the very first time when I was running 1,000-meter repeats. Does that make sense? So I built up my lactate threshold, my mental capacity, and all the other stuff. But I had so much time to work on it. It wasn't like this huge daunting task, and it wasn't like overwhelming for me.
Your body just kind of adapted to the effort.
Over the time, right?
Yeah.
So I had a goal in mind, and so I started small and worked my way up. So when you have time like that, you can work on little things like that and work over. Now, who knows to do that? Who knows whatever? People are just like, I guess like Danny said, right? You're just
People are just winging it.
winging it, right?
Yeah.
So she said something in there about, what about the coach?
If you don't have a coach, or if your coach isn't assigning you,
Right. So your coach is not assigning you anymore because you're not asking your coach to assign you stuff
or
anymore.
if you have a coach that maybe they only coached you for a certain amount of time and the time's up and you haven't renewed with them.
Exactly, right? So
any of
I would
those
make the
things.
suggestion,
Renew it.
if you thought they were a good coach, you probably should just get back with them again, and they'll probably help you get get gains, right?
Well, yeah, if you want to get the gains, you want a PR, you're not gonna do it by yourself.
You want to take that next big step, right? So
Yeah.
like I have people all the time that will contact me in like January or February, and they're like, I want to run the marathon next year. So they're preparing for an entire year,
Yeah.
right? So we take them through it, the whole block, and they make these crazy like improvements
Yeah.
because they were focused
For a
and they
full
had
year.
for a year they were creating these habits and doing whatever. Well, then they hit their goal and they're excited about it, and then like, all right, man, I'm gonna see you again in July, or I'm gonna see you again in August, right? And there's nothing wrong with that. If you want to do that, that's great. That's fine. But if you did that well this last time with no information and no knowledge, all right, now we've got this great baseline. Now we can go to all new territory,
Yeah.
right?
We can really see what you can do.
And we can really start like doing workouts and runs and stuff, that because now we're not having to spend the first 2 or 3 months teaching you how to run slow.
Yeah.
drills.
Yeah, we're not having to like, I mean, we're still doing drills,
But it's not
But now
like-
we can add in like strength work.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right now we can start implementing some new things that maybe you wouldn't know to implement on your own.
Sure.
Right, and how to implement it. So I mean, if you can afford it, I'd say go. It's not that expensive.
So, I mean,
You're not that expensive.
I'm not that expensive.
Yeah, I was going to say, it's not all you're
Okay.
not that expensive. So we've said that following a race to reverse, not reverse taper, but like progress.
reverse taper.
As reverse taper, yeah, reverse. So 30, 60, 80, back to
Based on
back to your
so like if you
full
do
amount.
This is just for math, but if you do 100 miles, you peak out at 100 miles, and you work your way up to 80%. Well, that's 80 miles,
Yeah,
right?
that's
So
a lot of miles.
only I would work your way up to wherever your baseline wants
Yes.
to be, right? So let's say you peaked at 50 miles for your marathon, but you don't want to run, 40 miles a week. You don't have time for it, or you don't feel like you have time for it.
Yeah.
Well, maybe you baseline it at 25 or baseline 30 miles. If
Mm-hmm.
you have a good 25-mile baseline or 30-mile baseline every single week, you can train for any event in like 8 to 12 weeks.
You think that's a
and
pretty
I mean, that's a good place, because you think about the 10% rule. If you're running 25 miles a week and you increase by 10%, you could be at 60 miles in like 2 months, 2.5
Mm-hmm.
months, right? 8 weeks. So it's really not that challenging to keep adding them, so you're talking what? That's 8 weeks, minimum of 2 miles a week, right? So that's 16 miles. That's 25, right? So you're at 41 miles just like that,
Yeah.
right? In less than 2 months.
Yeah.
And once you get to 30, you could add more. Once
Yeah.
you get to 40, you could add more. So, that's a great baseline to have. And there's a lot of good fitness that's had there, but you can jump to, I think any distance, you could be ready within 8 to 12 weeks if you have a baseline of like 25 to 30 miles.
Okay.
Right? Plus, you're probably running around a 6 or 7 mile long run, right? If you're doing sticking
Minimum,
with the rules.
yeah.
Well, in 8 weeks, if you add a mile a week, that's 15 miles,
Yeah.
right? So you're like right there. You're like, so that's what I'm saying. It's a good baseline to have. But if you're already comfortable running 35, 40 miles, and you want to, some people have a goal. I want to try to average 40 miles a week for the year.
Yeah.
Right. If you do that, that's awesome. I did that a couple of years ago, and I got a ton of fitness from that. And I was just running easy. I sprinkled in some speed work and some strength, and I was obviously doing OCR and strength stuff. But like, I got a ton of fitness from that, just from keeping that mileage there. And now, like, if I do 30 miles in a week, I feel like sometimes I feel like I haven't, oh man, I got to get back on it, man. This has been
You
a
feel
tough
behind.
week. Yeah.
Yeah.
So it just shows that with the time and the effort and the creating the habit, it's not really that challenging to get, a little bit higher mileage in your weekly routine.
All right. So reverse taper. Second thing you mentioned that I actually that was a really good one is make a list. I would say to a lot of people, make an actual list of what you can improve on from the event that you did. Whatever the race was, like what were things that you noticed were weak, cramping, nutrition, things that you can now improve on. And then something else you mentioned, you said I sprinkled in like little races in between. And
Yeah.
you use those kind of as like, let's gauge where the progress has been.
Right.
So would that be something you would recommend? Like if someone comes in and just says, oh, I just want to do the marathon, would you suggest, okay, well, let's look at maybe a 5K and a 10K to sprinkle in there as a way to test how we're doing?
Well, the first thing I would say is, once you reassess, right? Well, then are you reassessing? Some people are like, I'm one and done. Right?
Okay.
I'm not doing it anymore, right? Or I'm not doing that distance.
checked
I'll
it
go
off the
back.
list. I'm
I checked it
done.
off the list. I'm going back to half marathon. I'm going back to 10K. That's
going
fine.
back
If that's
to
what you want to
couch.
do, that's cool. But whatever that is, you're going to have a new goal, right? So, a good goal for a half marathon for a lot of people, usually a benchmark goal is like 2 hours or sub 2 hours.
Yeah.
Right. So if you hit that sub 2 hours, right, where do you go from here? I mean, for a lot of people, that's been a benchmark goal for a long time. And then if you get a coach and they help you get there, now you're like, well, I don't know what to do from here, right? Because now you're thinking, well, I did that pretty manageably just by changing it up. So what am I capable of? That's what I think. I think, okay, I was able to do that. What can I really do, right?
Yeah.
Could I maybe do a sub 150? Could I maybe get down to 130, right? And so understanding that, yes, that is a possibility. The sky is really the limit, but it's based on how much effort you're willing to put into it, the training and all that good stuff. So I would say if you have another goal in mind for the next time you run that event, well, then there are benchmarks for each distance that you would need to hit. So if you want to run a sub 2 hour marathon, so a 159, half marathon, 159.59, well, then your 10K distance, which is like the next level down technically, right? I mean, there's 15Ks, but they're not they're not plentiful like a 10K is, right? But if you want to run a 159-ish and you're a half, well, then a 10K time you want to run is going to be like 50 minutes or so.
Yeah.
Maybe 55 minutes, right? Max. So 50 to 55 minutes. Well, if you train and you go run a 10K, you can test and see, am I there, right? So if you run like, say, 54 minutes, then you know you're on your way and you're probably going to hit it, right? If you run an hour and 5 minutes, well, then you're going to have to reassess not only your training, but you're also going to have to reassess your timeline.
Yeah.
Right? Because you got to make sure you've got enough time to make whatever changes you need to make for your half to be able to hit your time.
Okay.
Right? But then if you go and do it in like 45 minutes, well, then you need to reassess and say, hey, my fitness is really improved. Maybe 159 is not enough for me. I need to try like maybe 155 or something. Right? So doing like those different distances, like a 5K or a 10K, kind of give you these numbers to let you know like where are you at in comparison of where you're wanting your next goal is, right? Or maybe that could be the benchmark for you to set your next goal, right? You go out and run a 5K, fast 5K with your new fitness, you get a new fast PR. You're like, okay, well, this means I'm on the pathway to get this time in a half marathon. So I think that's a really good idea. I think another really good idea is to like explore, like try some new things.
Oh, new avenues of fitness.
Yep, step out of your comfort zone. Maybe run a trail race.
Yeah.
Right? Maybe go do a relay or something. Maybe try like a high rocks or obstacle course race or something. Step out of your comfort zone a little bit because now you've built new fitness, you've built a new confidence, right?
You might totally surprise yourself.
And you may surprise yourself, and it's going to make you a better half marathoner. It's going to make you a better 10Ker.
Sure. How many of all the people that like you specifically train, how many people do you have come in who they set the big goal, they accomplish, finish, whatever, whether they hit the goal or not, they get through whatever the one races or the big races. How many people would you say just completely mentally are burn out like after that? Or like how many people versus like I'm really wanting to get back at it, I want to do something else versus like I hit my goal, I'm kind of good for now.
I don't know if I coach anybody that's like that.
Yeah.
Because usually I try to, teach them, to maintain a certain level or whatever. And we're trying to develop habits. So it's
Yeah.
not like I'm not giving you a training plan and you're just going and doing the training plan, right? There's always constant communication. There's teaching and stuff going on.
You don't experience a lot of burnout with your
No,
members.
especially not the way I create plans, right? So I'm not trying to overwhelm people
Yeah.
with what they're doing. Unless I've been coaching you for a while and I know what you're capable of and you know what you're capable of, then we might push a little bit harder. But usually that's a whole nother level. That's a different place that athlete is in. So, but yeah, I don't know. Now I have some people who I won't hear from for 3 or 4 months, right? And they'll still be running, doing their own thing,
Yeah.
right? And then, they'll come back and when they've got a race or something, they're going to be doing.
Yeah.
So, but usually no, it's that doesn't usually happen. Like burnout's not really a thing that we deal with. And so that's the thing I think is sometimes people, they do races like a marathon or a half marathon or even a 5 or 10K or what have you. And it can seem daunting and overwhelming to you because the event itself is put up on this pedestal,
Sure.
right? When, in my opinion, the training's the hard part. And if you can get through the training, the race is the easy part.
Yeah.
Right? So, and then once you've already created the habit and the consistency of it, there's nothing wrong with kind of easing up and taking a break.
Unless you don't train and then you just go straight to the event, then the race is the hard part.
Well, right. But not you're talking about people like
I'm
us,
talking about yeah.
Right.
First, yeah, it's
right?
true.
So, so I would say those individuals, for the most part, are going to, when they get done with it, the hard part is over. They can ease back and take a break, but the key is going to be now as they move forward. they just got to get a new goal,
Yeah.
right? That's the thing. Find the next thing to keep that consistency. Because ultimately, what I'm trying to teach people is, the enjoyment and the love of fitness and the journey more so than the destination or the event. Because I don't think you ever truly arrive, because as long as you're training properly, you're learning how to eat properly and get nutrition, and there's always something new to learn, right? You can keep progressing and get faster and stronger and develop new disciplines and new techniques and stuff, right?
And you often, I mean, not often, I think every time one of your clients has an event or a race, you have a habit of checking in with them, like pretty soon after their
Yeah.
event. Like checking in how to go, kind of like talking through how they did, their performance, and then encouraging, okay, well, like, what's the next thing?
Yeah. I don't think people really appreciate how amazing a coach I am, how much I give, and I just keep giving, and they just keep taking. But technically, so like, let me take you through like what I do as a run coach, right? So the average person does like what we call 6-month run coaching,
Yep.
right? For 6-month run coaching, you get 6 sessions. So we meet once a month, and I create training plans for whatever the event is that you're doing, right? And you may have multiple events as you prepare for that, because I'll usually make a suggestion like, hey, let's do this event to see if we're ready for this event, like I mentioned a minute ago, right?
Yeah.
Well, if we have a race, well, we're going to have a pre-race meeting, right? I always want to try to have a pre-race meeting so that we can have a race plan, right? We can create a race plan. And so that includes what pace we're going to run, what's our nutrition plan look like, because I want to try to make sure that they're prepared for anything they might come against when they go to the race, right? Well, then when they're done with the event, I usually will give them instructions, right? And I'll be like, hey, we're going to reverse taper, if you want to run the week after, whatever, like the thing I went through a minute ago. And then when that's done, we meet again. And when we meet again, we talk about the race. What did you do well? What did you learn from it?
Yeah.
What do you feel like you struggled on? What do you feel like we need to work on? And then we create a new plan and go to the next step.
Yeah.
Right? So technically, realistically, in a 6-month plan, I usually meet with people at least 8 times, because I'll do like a little quick phone thing or something with them, or you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So I'm going above and beyond, people. Above and beyond. It's ridiculous. But yeah, so once we get through that, then we move to wherever it's going to go. Now, sometimes people literally will plan their 6-month like to the day of the race.
Yeah.
Right? So like if they're racing January whatever, like January 19th or something, they'll start like July 19th, right? Because they want to make sure they make it all the way through the event.
Yeah.
Right? So sometimes they don't like follow up with me with their like I usually will reach out after the race. How'd it go?
Yeah.
How'd you feel? I always do that no matter what. But sometimes we don't have like a meeting a few weeks later to plan the next thing.
Yeah.
So, but they usually keep running. If they were smart, what they would do, I think actually Danny did this, because she told me I think it was the other day we were running with her. If they were smart, they would go back to the beginning of their plan, right?
Repeat and start over.
And just keep going with that, right?
Yeah.
That way they have some kind of guidance. It doesn't like it disappears,
Okay.
right? So just kind of have some way of like following through and just maintain that, right? So I think that would be like learn. You're supposed to be learning. That's the whole point.
Yeah.
Right? Don't just pull stuff out of your tail end.
Well, I think that's another good thing about having like a coach or a group or even just a friend that's like accountable. We always talk about accountability.
Yep.
Accountability after your event, because they're not going to, usually those people are not going to be like, okay, you finished it and you're done. You don't have to do it anymore.
Right.
More often than not, like they're like, okay, what's the next race we're going to do? Or like Danny, after an event, she's like, hey, there's a ultra marathon in Zion. We should do a girls trip. It's in April or whatever. We should do it. So we're planning for that next year.
Yeah.
So there's always like somebody to kind of keep you accountable, versus if you are planning this by yourself. Because I know I meet people who are runners who are with a group, or they're training very specifically, like as a runner who knows how to train, versus people who are like, I'm gonna go run a marathon. I just went out and ran.
Yeah.
And these are the people who usually end up having plantar fasciitis or some kind of issue, injury, what have you. And then I've talked to a few of them. They're like, I did my first marathon. I'm like, oh my gosh, did you love it? And they're like, no, I'm never doing that again. I'm like, well, and I know it's probably because of how you went about it. You know it's probably because of how they went about it. And then they probably did not have a support system or a group to keep them accountable. So as soon as it was done, nobody was like, oh, you should totally try something new.
Sure.
They just stopped.
Yeah.
And that's,
I'm sure my experience, a lot of people do that, right? So,
Yeah.
And then they tend to like get ramped up again, and they make the same mistakes they made last year, like running too far on your long run, running too fast on your easy runs, not having structured speed work, right? I think that's a big mistake too. Like, I think speed work is a good thing to do. It's important to do. It helps develop, your lactate threshold, your anaerobic capacity to build strength, helps your turnover. But I think more than anything, it helps your brain, right? It helps you be comfortable being uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Right. But if you don't have structure to it, right, you're just like, I've seen people that were like, yeah, I did 800-meter repeats today at 9-minute pace or whatever, which is like, and they're usually running a 9:30 pace. And I'm like, well, if your easy pace is 9:30, your 800-meter pace is not a 9-minute pace. It should be much faster than that. And you need to build up, right? You need to make it a little more challenging each week. You need to break in, rests in there. What's the point of this workout? So they're just running fast just to say, I did some run fast work, right? Which is, I guess, better than nothing. But like, there's no purpose to the efforts, right?
No intention.
No intentionality to it. So if you don't have a structured plan, right, which you can create your own plan. I'm not saying that you have to have a coach, right?
Yeah.
I think it would help, but you don't have to. Stick to the rules. Simple.
Go back to like episode 3.
Yeah, you could go back to episode 3. You go to the YouTube page and look at 5 golden rules of running. You could type in literally on Google, because they're my 5 golden rules of running, but these are not like just specific to me.
Yeah.
Like, this is like if you're a good runner, this is what you're doing.
probably
type
know.
thing, right?
Yeah.
And there may be different variations, but you run 80-20. So 80% of your efforts are super duper easy. 20% are hard. You only increase your mileage 10% a week, no matter what. You don't let your long run be more than 20 to 30%. You work in drills. You work in cross training. If you constantly do that and you're creating a plan, right, it should be really simple, right? It's not rocket science, right? So now there are nuances to creating really good workouts that are fun or that are challenging, and there's certain workouts you want to do for certain type of events. So yeah, that can be a little bit more challenging. But for the most part, if you create a plan and stick to it, you're going to improve.
Yeah. Okay. Rocky, you've been real quiet over here.
I'm listening. I'm gaining the knowledge that I need because information just information is what you do with it. You cycle it in.
So what are you going to do with it?
You bring it into
was
knowledge.
just about to put
I'm
him on
gonna
the
go
spot.
tell everyone else that I see, like I always do. Whenever I see somebody have a conversation, guess what they always talk about? Running.
Well,
Which is funny because it's me. I'm not the biggest runner.
That's the only thing you're doing right now.
I was
Yeah.
gonna
Right?
say
You're supposed to be coming to lunch class. I haven't seen you at lunch.
I know it's been
weird.
We've had a lot more
Yeah.
extensions
Actually,
than I
last
thought.
night somebody was asking me about how your workouts have been going, and I was like, "What workouts?" And they were like, "Yeah, he says he's been coming." You know who I'm talking about.
Oh yeah, he texts me. He goes, "Oh, I don't come no more. So you don't come." I was like, "Yeah, you broke my heart. You left."
Ah,
Yeah, because he quit our other team that we
He
had.
did.
Yeah, so I was like,
did.
yeah, I don't want to talk to you no more.
he didn't quit. He just
hiatus.
he's taking a hiatus, an
Yeah.
indefinite hiatus.
Yeah.
apparently.
indefinite.
No, there's no timeline on it.
Okay.
But yes, so what I usually do is I take up this knowledge and I go and spread the. Because actually, I was at a crawfish boil on last Saturday, and this girl was like, "Oh yeah, I'm gonna run a 10K with my father in November." I was like, "10K, you ready for that?" She goes, "No." I was like, "You gotta get a run coach. You gotta get I know a guy. He'll help you out. He'll hook you up. Because you know about drills and all that." She goes,
You didn't try to sell her on a discount, did you?
No, I did not. I don't do that no more.
Okay.
I don't. I'll get the kickback later from James.
There's no kickback.
He's waiting on his first
There's
kickback.
no discounts.
But yeah, so yeah, I just people. It's so we learn running as a kid. It's funny, we just think we know it. It's like everything else.
Yeah.
We just know it. You should know running's easy. Just go faster. It's a fast walk, but it's not really that simple. And so people don't know about running.
Yeah. People don't know. I mean, it seems like the most natural thing to do, and it is. But, it's just what sometimes makes sense doesn't always work. And what works sometimes doesn't make a lot of sense to people, right? So, but I think it's a perfect time. The off season, man. Here's the deal. Usually the biggest difference between an amateur and a professional is how much attention to detail you put into it. So if you focus on running good mileage and running easy, you're going to improve. But if you also focus on doing some speed work, the right amount of speed work, you're going to improve. But if you work on your form and you get more efficient at running, you're going to improve. But if you also work on your nutrition, you're going to improve. But then if you also work on your sleep, you're going to improve. Do you see all these different
Yeah,
places?
so running isn't just running.
No, there's so much to go. You work on your strength, you're going
Yeah.
to get stronger, and you're going to
Improve.
improve, right?
As soon as you said nutrition, I just kind of glanced down at the table and I looked at my snack.
Your second bag of gummy bears.
It's a mini bag.
So,
This is our mini bag.
so I mean, here's the deal. You know, I mean, I don't want to go off on a tangent, but I mean, nutrition is a huge part of it, right?
It really
so, I hear people complain all the time. Oh, I'm tired all the time. I have one client that he's the longest. He's the OG of clients, seriously, and he's my original client actually from when I first started the company. And this dude, he's the bane of my existence.
I like that
Seriously.
long draw.
This guy, and if you're listening, bro, you know who I'm talking to.
You know who you are.
You know who you are.
You're the pilot.
And every time we train, he's like, oh man, I'm so tired. I'm exhausted. I'm so tired. I was like, what'd you have to eat today? Oh man, I had a double cheeseburger
I think I know who it
with
is,
extra
but-
bacon and cheese. It was so good. Then I had extra fries. But hey, man, I had some strawberries this morning.
Hey, you gotta. I had strawberries today too on my
But I'm like,
Belgian
did
waffle.
you eat anything else? He's like, no. I was like, well, that's probably why you're tired. You're super saturated with saturated fat and fat. You don't have hardly any carbohydrates. You don't have enough calories in your body. And the calories you have are like bad calories. They're just not bad, but they're just like trash
Empty.
calories.
Yeah.
You know, so it's like, he's like, well, I had a donut before I got here, my pre-workout donut.
Pre-workout donut.
I'm like, bro, you are killing me,
Did
man.
you ask him if he at least sprinkled pre-workout powder on the
No,
donut?
This guy, man, he kills me because it's like he'll come in sometimes, he'll be so motivated and ready to go, and it'll last like 2 weeks, and he'll do really good, and then no. And then I'm like, dude, you realize that you represent me whenever you leave this place? You're making me look bad.
Don't tell people you have a trainer.
I tell him that. I was like, don't tell people I'm your trainer because you're making me. And he's like, well, are you going to fire me? And I was like, of course not, man. I mean, I'd rather you do this. Than if you don't do this, I know you're not going to do anything. So I'm going to keep coaching you. And one day I'm going to get through to you. I promise. But like
so
nutrition
funny.
is such a huge part of like performance and energy. And so it's all those subtle details. And so I think the off season is a perfect time to work on the subtle details and start making small incremental changes, because I think those are the best way to make changes, small and incrementally, because it doesn't become overwhelming, right? If someone comes into me and I'm coaching them and they're like, I want to run this time, I want to do this pace, whatever, this is what I've been doing, you know, I don't usually say, okay, we're going to run 25 miles a week, here's your speed work, you know, and give them some kind of crazy speed effort or whatever, because number one, it's going to overwhelm them. They're probably not going to hit the paces. And then when they run easy, they're going to be even more demoralized because like they didn't hit the speed paces, right? And now they can't keep their heart rate down when they're running easy. So now they got multiple things they're trying to work on, right? So we just start learning what easy running feels like. Once we've mastered that, once we've done that, then we'll start some speed work, but I never start anybody with hard workouts. It starts super chill, because I'm trying to build their confidence, the ability to hold a pace. There's so many different things they need to work on before they go out and run 2,000 meter repeats times 10, right? And it's just doesn't make any sense to try to do something like that, because you're just kind of setting yourself up for failure,
Yeah.
right? So if you make those incremental changes and you do it subtly and you're successful each time, well, each success breeds upon itself, and then that breeds upon itself. And then when you get to race day, you're successful on race day because you've already basically created a culture of success. You've created a culture of being consistent and being, I guess, conquering whatever came in front of you. And so now the race is just one more thing for you to conquer, because you got this list of other things that you've just crushed.
So going back, making sure everybody was following, you're reverse tapering, you're resting after your big event.
Yep.
And then you're reverse tapering.
Yep.
You are checking in with the details. You're
Yep.
focusing on those details. You're going to schedule or plan for some, what would you call them, like not milestones, like little races in between.
Yeah. Little races.
Little ways to gauge your progress.
Remember your weaknesses.
I just said that.
You did.
The details.
Recap.
Oh, yeah, my fault.
The details.
Yeah, my fault. I didn't know. Maybe they didn't know.
No, she said talk about the details. She didn't say anything about recap the weaknesses.
Oh, sorry. When I said details, that's what I meant.
get
One
you.
and the same. So yes, you were technically
You were both
right.
correct.
We were both correct. Sorry, Rocky.
You are forgiven.
What I say? Recap and details. little races in between, and then what was the last one that we just did? Check in with your coach. And I think that was it, right? Those were the 5 main points that people should like go over after their big event,
Sure.
and then gauge what you need to do for the next one.
Sounds
I
good to me.
guess.
There's a commercial after Emmitt Smith won the Super Bowl back in the day. He was he was like on a workout bench press. He goes, man, I need to take a break. And he stops, he just reps, puts up, waits about 10 seconds. All right, break's over. Time to get back to work. That's what we should be doing. I mean,
10-second break.
No.
I agree.
I mean,
Somebody actually asked me on
there is
Sunday.
no off season, kind of. You know,
No.
Somebody was
for
asking me
us.
on Sunday. They're like, "So after Manchester, are you going to take a break?" And I was like, "Yeah. I mean, I'll recover. I'll do my standard recovery, or whatever." It's
a
like,
long
yeah, because
fight.
you seem like you've been just going nonstop. And I guess so, but not really. I mean, in December, I took a week where I didn't run at all. Like I think because I wasn't running the marathon, right? So I took a whole week off, and then I reverse tapered, right? I think it was after a big race we did. It was after High Rocks in
It was
November.
High
so
Rocks,
the
yeah.
week after High Rocks, I barely ran at all. The next week, I reverse tapered and I worked my way back up, and then I started prepping for February High Rocks.
Yep.
Right. So I took a break and I did rest and recover, and that's also why I do recovery weeks every 4 weeks. Right. So that's part of my rest and allows my body to keep progressing. And then I have a big race, usually an A race that I'm training for, and after the A race, that's when I reset. Right. So it may look like I'm training nonstop all year long, but I'm not really.
it's part of your life.
It's just
Your
exactly it's
lifestyle.
part of my life. I'm going to train no matter what. The events are just like placeholders for me to work towards something. So, I guess there's an off season, but there's not really an off season because for me, the marathon's not
That's
Goal.
not your big goal.
that's not what I'm like shooting for, right? It's not the thing that I'm in love with, right? So there are other things that I'm shooting for, and usually if I'm running the marathon, it's for other people, right? I'm doing it like to encourage other people, to run with other people. I do have some goals for the marathon, but it's not that I don't even consider the marathon my A race of the year, right? It's more like a B race more than anything. But obviously, because it's such a
Big one.
big one, I'm going to put focus on it and I'm going to prepare myself properly for it. And I'm also not going to put something next to it, right? So I'm going to make sure I space something. I'm not going to run something the next week, right?
Yeah.
Which is the reason I didn't run it this past year is because High Rocks was supposed to be
Right after
like
it.
literally the week after.
Yeah, that would
right?
have been very bad.
So I was like, High Rocks is what I was shooting for this year. So I'm not running the marathon, that particular event anyway, right? So
And now we're going to Manchester.
word. So, but yeah, that's what I'm saying is like, I go through the ebb and flows throughout the year where I let my body rest and I recover and recoup, right? But once I get through with that reverse taper, I start training again, right? And sometimes, I want to say, when was it? I want to say last summer, because I think we had something like this where like we didn't have anything until like September or something, right? And so we had the whole summer and I had nothing going on. So I think I took the month of June and I went super chill. I think I only ran like maybe 20 miles a week or something, which
Yeah.
is way less. I really backed off on a lot of my workouts or whatever, and I recuperated and recovered.
Yeah.
And then in July, I got hungry again.
Yeah.
Right? I was like, I'm missing this. I need to get back into it. These are the things I want to work on. And then I was like, hey, we should do that habanero thing, right? So
Yeah,
we did it in
that's what it
August,
was.
right?
We
So
did.
it was like a sporadic thing, wasn't a big deal. It was a shorter event.
It was toasty.
So, it was something just to kind of talk, but it didn't stop my training. It didn't throw a monkey wrench in my training, but it was something that I could do to kind of like satiate my desire to be running or racing or something, right? So, so I try to plan out my events and the things I'm going to do at the beginning of the year, and I try very, very hard not to like just toss stuff in randomly because, like I said, for me, it's about improving as an athlete. And it's about getting faster and improving at the events that I want to improve in. And so me tossing in some event at some gym or something, or, me going and running an online mile or something, it doesn't appeal to me because it means nothing to me because it doesn't tell me anything about my fitness, right? It doesn't tell me I'm improving because like it doesn't mean anything.
Yep.
That's me. It's me. But there's also a reason why I keep getting faster and stronger, but whatever.
Facts. All right, we're running out of time, so Rocky's Rambles?
Yep, go for it.
Rocky's
All
Rambles.
right, so today's episode, guys, it reminded me of a great quote.
I like how you just cut me and you're just like, you are the host today. I forgot.
Yeah, 'cause there we go.
My
We're
bad.
learning. I'm looking
There's
out for
the
you.
respect.
I
You gotta see
digress.
an
I know,
appointment.
you're right. You're right.
Yeah, you know, we gotta
Keep
get-
doing your thing.
we gotta
Go.
get the
Stop
money.
ramble.
I'm rambling. All right. So today's episode, see, I'm the host here. All right. This episode reminded me of a great quote from a great man named Steve Prefontaine. Here's the quote, people. I run because it's my passion and not just a sport. Every time I walk out the door, I know why I'm going, where I'm going, and I'm already focused on that special place where I find my peace and solitude. Word.
Message.
Message.
I like that.
Yeah, remind me of today's episode, you know?
Yeah.
It's not a sport. Just go out there and do it. This is my peace. This is my solitude. Well, his peace, his solitude. Probably y'all's too.
Yeah.
My piece of solitude is
Strawberry Belgian waffle.
strawberry. Yeah, I was gonna say dribbling. But that's a dumb thing.
Dribbling.
I hope you're
Okay.
doing that in solitude.
Yeah.
Nobody's doing it for you.
Oh, okay.
So
Good job,
nice.
Rocky.
I don't really have a lot of solitude moments in training.
Yeah, you run with people.
You run with us
I'm
all the
always
time.
working
We're
and training with other
constantly
people.
keeping
I mean,
you
sometimes I
annoyed.
do. I mean, like usually my Monday and Tuesday runs are by myself. So
That's your solitude.
Well, no, they're not actually. Well, my Tuesday afternoon run, my Tuesday morning run isn't. This one was. This Tuesday I was all by myself.
Oh yeah, she didn't go.
Yep.
He.
I got finished quick. I was surprised. I got back and I was like, dude, that didn't take very long at all. I was like,
Had no
how
one
am I
holding you
already
back.
done? And I was like 5 minutes late because I was like, nobody's gonna be there. So what is my rush? So I didn't get there till like almost right at 7 o'clock, and I was done by like 7:50. And
Dang.
usually we start at 6:50 ish, and we're done like at 8:05, 8:10. So I was like, whoa.
You know, we can always try picking up the pace a little bit when we run together.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Well, I mean, y'all could run the pace, but your heart rates are gonna be too high. That's the point, dude.
Okay.
You don't think it will?
No, you're probably right, especially with the
No, I'm
conversations.
probably right. I am right.
Because especially with the conversations,
Your heart rates are already too high
I do.
half the time,
they are.
and we're running slower. So if we pick up the pace, your heart rate's not going to go the other direction. I don't understand what the point is you're making.
I feel bad 'cause like slow. I'm slow.
That's why we get there at 6:45, so we have enough time to get it done.
It's true. It's true.
I mean, I'm fine with it. It's fine. I just like to make the point
Yeah, when I'm alone, I'm better.
that when I'm alone, I'm faster, and I'm not having y'all the dead weight dragging me
Oh
down.
my gosh.
You know what I'm saying?
Okay. Good times, good times. Well, Danny, thank you for submitting that topic. Guys, as always, make sure you're checking out Running with James podcast on all available streaming platforms. Check out the YouTube Running with James. We're uploading new episodes from the podcast.
Sometimes, eventually.
Sometimes eventually.
One day in the future.
James has got shoe reviews hopefully coming up soon.
Yeah, actually, those are going.
Those are going.
You see me? I'm digging.
I know. This is what happens.
Jabs.
Stabs.
And you can always follow
Remember the
James.
conversation we had a couple weeks ago?
I'm talking. Well, you know, you need to bring your big old head back down. So you can follow this big old head at Running with James on Instagram. You can find me at Backyard Bohemian, Rocky G713. Go ahead, shoot us up a review. Make sure you leave 5 stars on all of our platforms. And you can always let us know what you want us to talk about, what topics you want to hear, questions you have when we will bring them to the podcast, and we can discuss them right here, right now. And as always, Rocky,
Change your mind.
you change lives.
Right. So if you want to send ideas to the show, you can just text Lauren at 713.
That'd been awesome.
What is
Skip the whole
happening?
DM process now.